Hello, good Woch, and good evening, and a happy Chanukah, B'ezrat Hashem, Fröhliche Chanukah. Uh, Welcome to the Sichos Haran, Sipurey Baal Shem Tov for this week. So we are starting with the mice of the Baal Shem Tov, because it is Gula, every Motzei Shabbos, to say a story of the Baal Shem Tov. It is from the stories of tzaddikim that elevates the moichin. It brings about their shpor, their presence, and all the brachas that are inherent in it. So this story about the rich man and a pauper. One town, there was a profoundly wealthy Jew. Was very, was a mechubadik. And once he sat in shul, he took out of his pocket, a tobacco box, a snuff box. And he gave all the people around him. There was a poor man came over, and he saw that, the wealthy person was, giving around the snuff box. So he wanted to also, to come to take a pinch. But the well-off guy, the rich guy, just took the box back and shut it off. And the poor person was very embarrassed. He went back to his place. From that time, the mazel of the rich person started going down, dwindling. And it wasn't long after that this poor person became mamish poor, to the point that he couldn't. I mean, he basically didn't have food. He had to go begging, to have food. And the people around used to know. I mean, it was a rich man, so they gave him more than they give regular people. But at the end, he got together with a band of poor people that used to go from town to town, from village to village. Now, until they came to Mezhivos, the town of the Baal Shem Tov. Now, the Baal Shem Tov there was a minhag to give poor people a specific sum of money that the Gabba would give by himself without asking the Baal Shem Tov. But if came a guest that needed more money than usual, so the Gabba would ask the Baal Shem Tov how much he should give that person. So that time also, the Gabbai gave him the regular sum of money. But this, poor ex-tycoon refused to get it, to take it. And says, every place is getting more. So the Gabbai says, he doesn't have permission to give more. But if you want, if he's insisting on getting more, he has to wait until the Baal Shem Tov will come and he'll ask him what to give him. The person waited. And when the Gabbai came out from the Baal Shem Tov, he came with a really nice gift. But again, that person refused to accept it, and he says he doesn't want any gifts. He wants to speak to the Baal Shem Tov himself. He came to the Baal Shem Tov and told him, he used to be a very wealthy person, and his mazel went down. And he asked the Baal Shem Tov an eitzah, bracha. The Baal Shem Tov told him, do you remember that Maisa with the snuff box? And this is, you shot it before the poor person, and you didn't let him have it. In the Shemaim, they decreed that all your wealth will be given to that poor person, and that you will become poor instead of him. And that ex-rich person said that, yeah, I remember it. Remembers, that Itaka, from that time on, his luck started going down. So he said, what can I do to fix it? So I told him, there's no other way except for you to go and ask him also, for a pinch of snuff, and he won't give you. If that happens, he will give you all your wealth will come back to you. But if he gives you the snuff, you won't be able to take the wealth back. Baal Shem Tov gave him a nice gift, and he went away. This ex-tycoon, whatever, kept it in his heart, didn't reveal it to anybody. And he heard that in a while, this rich person used to be that poor person, is making a wedding for his daughter. Going to make big suda for all the poor people. He waited until the wedding, and he came there. He sat together with all the poor people. In the middle of the suda, everybody got up, started dancing. The father of the kala also went with Ram Chotorim to dance. So the poor person came from where he was sitting, and he asked the father of the kala, the rich person. The father of the kala asked him, "What do you want?" He said, "I would like a pinch of snuff." So the father of the kala stopped dancing, and he took out the snuff box from his pocket and gave it to him. When this ex-rich person saw that, he fell down on the spot. The father of the kala was very startled, and they woke him up, and he asked him, what happened? So he told him, you asked me when I offered snuff all that time ago, and I snapped it off, in your face, and my muzzle went down, and until I became a beggar. And he told him when Baal Shem Tov said it. And he says, now, when you gave me the snuff, that means that the situation will never be reversed. So that wealthy man, the father of the kala, said, if that's the case, you will never again have to beg. As long as I'm alive, you will live with me. He gave him money and asked him to stay with him. He says, bring all your family. And he bought him a house. And every Shabbos, he will give him money, whatever it is that he needed for expenses. That's the way they live now. Quite an amazing thing. The scene of tzedakah. People that grew up in a well-tempered household, had healthy youth, and balanced, where they got the proper affection from the mother, and the acceptance and the empowerment from the father, and they grew up to be basically balanced people. These are people that naturally are able to give tzedakah in an open way. Just not long ago, our, we call it chabura, our class of Baalei Tshuva lost a very dear friend, passed away. His name was Arav Eliyahu Meirav, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. And he was a very, very special person in the sense that, even before he made tshuva, it was, outstanding, this incredible magnetism, chain, and throughout, after he made tshuva, whatever it is, at all times, the very minimum money that he would give would be a chomish, would be 20%. It was never less than that. And he said that the best times of his life, when he was the most well off financially, was when he gave 50% of all his income. Now, there are people where, the balance, the emotional balance of when they're growing years, is not as well tempered, um, especially children. People that as children they grew up, um, basically, deserted. Deserted. They were like, disappointed by basically everybody that they were supposed to take care of it. It could be parents, can be teachers, can be, bosses, whatever it is. And sort of like it becomes it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, that they feel uh, deserted and unworthy, and therefore they seek being deserted and rejected because they feel unworthy. And for them, it is very difficult to give tzedakah because as deserted children, they feel that they have no backing. There's a tremendous anxiety for them to give tzedakah because, like, what am I going to be left with? Is the kind of people that, when they sometimes, they borrow money and they don't pay it back. And then they have to borrow more money. And then money comes in. They always mean to pay back, we'll pay back to the last person that they borrow money from. And let's say they actually do. So let's say that they borrowed $1,000 from somebody and they get $1,000. So for them, the idea to take that $1,000 and give it as tzedakah raises the anxiety level, you know, tremendously because they feel I'm going to give them $1,000, I'm going to have nothing left. Yeah, but what about this guy that I borrowed $1,000 from? Well, that guy doesn't know that I got $1,000, does he? So, you know something? I'll give him 800. He'll be happy with 800. By the time the guy goes to that person that he borrowed from, says, "What does he need 800?" He doesn't know that I have the money. Give him 500. At the end, maybe he gives 100, 200. And as a result, the money is gone because money goes, but the debt remains. And it's a very serious thing. We spoke about it quite a few times in these videos. The the point when it comes to tzedakah, it becomes even more difficult. The issue becomes maybe they go in shul, they go to shul, and somebody comes and starts giving a heartbreaking story of they're not healthy or they're marrying off children or whatever it is and the feeling of anxiety can really raise and raise and raise because you really feel bad for this person. But on the other hand, you can't give money because if you give money, you won't have that money. And yes, it says, you'll give, you'll get. Okay, this is all nice, fine and well, but what about me? Because that inner feeling of I don't have, and if I give, I will never have, is very, very strong. Comes the question, okay, so what do you do? Rabbeinu said something extremely important about this. And it really turns common thinking or common wisdom, what you would say, topsy-turvy, turns it upside down. Rabbeinu says that sometimes $1 of tzedakah of a wealthy person is worth more than $100 of tzedakah from a poor person. You say, whoa, 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 time out. What's that? That doesn't make any sense. $1, I guess maybe I understand if you say, listen, that $1 of tzedakah of a poor person is worth more than $100 of a wealthy person. I can understand that. But the other way around, $100 of a poor person is worth less than $1 of a wealthy person. The answer is exactly what it is I said before. The reason why this $1 of the wealthy person is worth more than $1,000, I mean, than the $100 of a poor person, is because that wealthy person has to overcome his Yetzer Hara, his complexes, his emotional problems with giving money away. To give $1 than it is for somebody who is more even, and healthier in his mind to give $100. Because for a wealthy, but you are wealthy, it doesn't matter. The reason why he's taking him is because he feels that he has a hole inside him that he can't fill up. And if he gives it out, maybe I won't have that money anymore. So he has to really overcome his natural inclination to give $1 more than this poor person has to do so in order to give $100. So what's the point of this? The point of this is if you feel that you want to give tzedakah, you want to pay your debts, and you have problem doing it, you feel that you really have to struggle with yourself and you feel guilty and not giving enough or maybe whatever it is, just give whatever it is that you can. Because you don't know. You say, yeah, I should have given more. I mean, it's not, but you don't know the value of that tzedakah that you get. You have no idea. All this, so give. Whatever you give. Come and give a shekel. I'm never going to embarrass the guy. Whatever whatever the struggles that you have between you and you in order to give, this is the value of the tzedakah that you give. So don't belittle yourself. Don't look at yourself as, this is nothing, whatever it is. Look at this guy. I have more money than him and he's giving a lot of money. You don't know where he's coming from and where you're coming from. This is regarding the Sipurey Baal Shem Tov for tonight. Let's take a look at Sichos Haran for this. All right. So this is Sicha number 263, Resh Samech Gimel. One person told me that he was speaking with Rabbeinu Zal about young people to get married, that it's very common that there is a kilkel between them. There's lack of shalom bayis between them and their wives. And then they separate from one another for a certain amount of time. Sometimes, chas v'chalila, there's a divorce. And he says that this is a special Maisa of the Baal Dover, of Yetzer Hara, that concentrates himself to spoil the shalom of young couples, so you can capture them. And this is he dafka wants to catch them when they're young, because by spoiling the shalom bayis that they have, chas v'shalom, that he is causing, he can ruin the relationship completely. And Rabbeinu spoke about it at length. One of the things that one of the problems that are very frequent with these things, that people get married and sometimes they don't realize that the idea of marriage is to give. They figure out like the idea of behind marriage is to get. And there's a problem feeling that, I'm not getting enough. Then they come with all kinds of ideas of, I deserve more. I remember I used to speak in a shul in Tel Aviv, and I would have these people, many such people that would come, that, they were like refugees from various relationships. And what is the wish? The wish is, I would like somebody that will accept me for what I am. So I used to ask when they used to come to me and tell me, this is what I'm looking for. So the question I used to ask is, are you willing to accept them for what they are? Somehow that wasn't such a pertinent question. The pertinent problem is they should accept me for what I am. It's And then when people figure that there's somewhere somebody will accept it for what you are, and you take a look, that those people take a look at their relationships, and you see what's wrong with her. This is wrong with her, and she's like this, and she's like this, and she's like this, or he is like this, and he's like this, and he's like this, and he's like this. If only I were to go out and get somebody else, that somebody else won't have these deficiencies. But what people forget is that you get used to the good stuff that your spouse has. It's the bad stuff that you can get used to. The good stuff you take for granted. When you imagine the kind of relationship that you may have if you go out and take somebody else, you're only dreaming of the rose-colored glasses, that those specific deficiencies won't exist anymore. But there will be other deficiencies. Those that you may take down now for granted, you'll have deficiencies you won't be able to live with at all. Let's say that that was the only problem. One of the things that people many times don't realize is a person and his zivug are basically drawing themselves together towards one another. Lo aleinu, a person that feels that he or she needs to be treated not nice finds a match that treats them not nicely. People that feel that they should be treated nicely find matches that treat them nicely. Obviously, it's much more complicated than that, but that's usually the way it is. So what happens many times is that when people get separated, divorced, that they spend a certain period of time lonely, alone. And Dafka during the years when these things take place, in the 30s, 40s, whatever, uh, the singles scene, as it were, is one of excruciating pain and loneliness. Um, People are pushed to, by desperation, to do things that otherwise they wouldn't do. They engage in relationships that, and if they do get married again, chances are that they will get basically another version of their first match because those are the ones that they attract. Then they start comparing, you know, my first wife, my first husband had this, I didn't have that, and now how I miss, I should have it. The secret is find out what can you get. If you're a man and your wife puts you down, every wife puts her man down. This is it. That's her job, basically. Take it without resistance. First of all, you should know this is a kapara for all that there is. And this atones for all that there is. Accept her for who she is. Try to see how can you make her feel good. Funnily enough, for some people, this is a problem, not because the resistance inside them is too big, but because somewhere inside them, a good relationship is not what they think that they deserve. I mean, even good that you don't feel that you deserve is hard to get used to, harder than you think. But the name of the game is give. There's a special, what Rabbeinu says here, there's a special Yetzer Hara whose job is to ruin the shlom bais that people have. And the stories are always the same. The wife says something like, I want to remodel a house because I'm embarrassed. I can't invite my girlfriends to come to visit. I'm ashamed of the furniture that we have. And the husband says, but I have no money to buy new furniture. And the wife says, all you are is about money, money, money. And he would answer, you're just like your mother. Okay, you understand where this is going. When people don't have, the compassion for one another, these kind of conversations deteriorate, and people lose their emotional elasticity to house one another, to embrace one another, to be able to carry one another. Imagine the same conversation. The wife says, listen, I really want to change the sofa. This is appalling. I can't invite any of my friends home, and so forth and so on. Imagine the husband would say, you know something, this is a great idea. I'll tell you what we're going to do. How much does a new sofa cost? $1,000? Okay. Tell you what, let's put aside $50, $100 a month. Within 10 months, you go out and get the sofa that you want. It'd be great. The house will looking great. The same conversation. What's the difference? The difference is that the husband doesn't have the money. But when his wife told him, I want something, you don't have the money, usually in the first instance, the husband is feeling, uh-oh, I'm inadequate. I don't have the money. And by telling me she wants the sofa and I don't have the money, I feel like I'm worthless husband. You're allowed to feel that way. It's very common. But look at her. Look at what she wants. And say, okay, you have no money. All right, so how, first of all, acknowledge what she wants. Okay, it's a good thing. Don't give her lectures how you should do it. Forget about that. Come up with a solution. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Let's not take things, in payments because you're just building debt that way. But let's do something. Okay, Lamalo, you should have a nice home because the wife thrives on a nice home. Help her out. Put the money aside. But more importantly, there's acknowledgement there. There's in Hebrew it's called achala. You're able to contain them, as it were. You're able to. They're not overwhelming you with their needs. Both the tzedakah and the initial bias, a lot of it is about being overwhelmed by demands which are beyond my pay grade, as it were. So there is to accept that, appreciate what it is that I can get, and give that. Hanukkah. Hanukkah is all about bringing the lights from above down to this world. Tzedakah is about that. Relationship is about that. When you take huge light, huge demand, huge challenge, and you bring it down to a little candle, to a little, that's the thing that you can do, how precious it is. Hashem should help us, B'ezrat Hashem. We should have an amazing Hanukkah, an amazing month. The month is Chodesh soon, and an amazing year. B'ezrat Hashem, Kodesh Baruch Hu should send us Mashiach soon, B'ezrat Hashem. They called me up to speak, and there was a gathering about this friend of ours that passed away. I couldn't go because I wasn't well, but there was something that I wanted to mention. I don't know who you probably know, but all people know that in the 60s and 50s, 60s, 70s of the previous century, there was a very famous and very successful musician called Leonard Bernstein. And Leonard Bernstein was a superstar. And once they interviewed him, they asked him, "Do you think that people are jealous of you?" And he said, "If I were someone else, I would be jealous of you." So he said it, okay, that's a Adam Hazan. But the point is a very, very profound saying here that you and I should adopt. If you were someone else, you would be jealous of you. Things that you accomplished, mitzvahs that you kept, the obstacles that you overcame, the chasadim that you did, the changes that you helped people change their lives. You know, and I know, whatever you know for yourself and I know for myself, everything, not everything, but the things that I'm missing. I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this, and I'm not that. But what about the good stuff? You don't get the perspective of seeing yourself from the outside. So I'm telling you, B'ezras Hashem will repeat that sentence again and again. Mitzvah Shem for other Shurim as well. If you were somebody else, you would be jealous of you. Have a good week, and we said before, Hashem will be to see Geula Shleimo, V'yech B'shiaset Kem B'ezras Hashem. Soon nowadays. Thank you for everything, for being here, for watching this.